A lone traveler checks into a motel with only one room left. But when he enters, strange whispers, eerie footprints, and a chilling message in the closet reveal a horrifying truth. He was never alone. And now, he may never leave. Welcome my YouTube channel Storytime. If you like this story, please don't forget like, subscribe and share. Jason pulled into the dimly lit parking lot of the lone motel on the desolate highway. His fuel gauge blinked an urgent red, and exhaustion weighed heavy on his eyes. The neon sign flickered erratically, last vacancy. He grabbed his duffel bag and headed to the front desk. The receptionist, an elderly woman with clouded eyes, barely acknowledged him. She slid a key across the counter. Room 7. Last one left, she muttered. Her voice was barely above a whisper, yet something about her tone unsettled Jason. As he walked down the dim corridor, the air felt unnaturally heavy. The walls were adorned with outdated floral wallpaper, peeling at the edges. He unlocked the door and stepped inside. The room smelled of mildew and something else, something metallic, like rusted iron. He dismissed it as his tired mind playing tricks on him. Jason placed his bag on the chair and sat on the bed. The springs groaned beneath him. He reached for the remote and turned on the old TV, but only static filled the screen. Then, suddenly, a faint voice crackled through the static. Don't stay. Jason's breath hitched. He turned off the TV, his pulse quickening. He glanced around the room. Everything seemed normal, yet an unshakable feeling of unease gripped him. Deciding he was just overtired, he lay down and closed his eyes. Sleep came in restless waves, his mind half aware of every creak and whisper of the wind. Then, in the dead of night, he heard it, a shuffling sound just outside his door. His body stiffened. Footsteps, slow and deliberate. Then, a soft knock. Jason held his breath. Who is it? He asked, his voice barely steady. Silence. He hesitated before getting up. Peeking through the peephole, he saw nothing but darkness. No shadow, no movement. A chill crept down his spine. As he stepped back, he noticed something on the carpet, faint footprints, leading from the door to the closet. His pulse thundered in his ears. He hadn't checked the closet. Summoning his courage, he reached for the handle and yanked the door open. Nothing. Just an empty closet. A heavy exhale escaped his lips, but then, he noticed it. In the dim light on the closet wall, someone had scratched a message into the wood. You're already here. The door slammed shut behind him. And then, everything went dark. Jason gasped, his body frozen in place. The darkness pressed in on him, thick and suffocating. He reached out blindly, his fingers fumbling for the closet door handle. It wouldn't budge. The air inside the closet felt different, stale, cold. A whisper, barely audible, brushed against his ear. You should have left. His breath came in rapid bursts. He slammed his fist against the door. Let me out. A sudden gust of wind, impossible in the enclosed space, sent shivers down his spine. Then, just as quickly as it had begun, the door creaked open on its own. Jason stumbled out, heart pounding. The room was exactly as he had left it, but something felt off. The footprints on the carpet were gone. The scratches inside the closet had vanished. His phone. He needed his phone. He scrambled for his duffel bag, but when he unzipped it, it was empty. No, no, no. He muttered, frantically checking under the bed, in the drawers, nothing. Everything he had was gone. A knock echoed through the room. Not from the door, but from inside the bathroom. Jason turned slowly, dread pooling in his stomach. The bathroom door was slightly ajar, revealing nothing but darkness beyond. Then, a voice, his own voice, called from inside. Jason, help me. His blood ran cold. He took a shaky step toward the door, hand trembling as he reached for the knob. He had to see. Had to know. The moment he touched it, the door flew open. Inside stood a figure, identical to him in every way. Same face. Same clothes. Same terrified expression. "You took my place," the doppelgänger whispered. "Now it's your turn." Before Jason could react, the figure lunged forward, dragging him into the darkness. The motel room stood empty once more, waiting for its next guest. Jason's scream never left his throat. Darkness swallowed him whole, suffocating, endless. His body felt like it was falling, yet his feet remained on solid ground. Then, light. Not the comforting glow of a lamp or the morning sun, but a sickly yellow flicker. Jason blinked rapidly, his eyes adjusting. He was back in the motel room. Except, something was wrong. The wallpaper had peeled away entirely, revealing rotting wood beneath. The bed was stripped to its stained mattress, springs jutting out like broken ribs. The air was thick with decay. This wasn't his room. A low, guttural sound slithered through the silence. Jason turned sharply toward the mirror above the dresser. His reflection was delayed. When he lifted his hand, the reflection hesitated before copying him. Then, it smirked. Jason stumbled back. What the hell? The reflection moved forward, pressing its hands against the glass from the inside. Its grin widened. Jason could only watch in horror as the reflection's skin began to crack, dark veins spreading across its face. "You're still here," it rasped. Jason spun toward the door, grabbing the handle and yanking hard. Locked. A creak behind him. He turned, and his reflection was gone. Only the empty mirror remained. A breath brushed against his ear. "Let me out." Jason whirled around, his back slamming against the dresser. The room swayed like a heat mirage. He needed to get out. Now. His eyes darted to the nightstand. The motel key. He grabbed it and lunged for the door again, shoving the key into the lock. The second it clicked open, the lights flickered violently, and a scream, his own scream, ripped through the room. Jason didn't wait to understand. He threw the door open and ran. The hallway stretched unnaturally long, its flickering lights buzzing like dying insects. Jason's breath came in ragged gasps as he sprinted, his feet barely making a sound against the worn carpet. The reception desk came into view, but the old woman was gone. The front door stood ajar, the neon "last vacancy" sign outside flickering wildly. Jason bolted toward it. And crashed into something solid. He staggered back, clutching his head. A man stood in the doorway. A man who looked exactly like him. Jason's stomach turned. No. The figure smiled. Leaving so soon. Before Jason could react, the lights in the motel went out. And the darkness took him again. Jason's world twisted. One moment, he was in the motel lobby, staring at his own grinning double. The next, he was somewhere else entirely. The motel was gone. He stood in an endless corridor lined with doors, each identical, faded numbers, tarnished handles, peeling paint. A dim light flickered overhead, casting long, shifting shadows. The air smelled damp, stale, as if time had rotted within these walls. Jason swallowed hard. Where the hell was he? He turned back, only to find nothing but more hallways stretching endlessly behind him. The motel lobby was gone. The front door, the parking lot, everything. A slow, deliberate knock echoed from the nearest door. Jason hesitated. Every instinct told him to run. But there was nowhere to go. He stepped closer, his pulse hammering. Another knock. With a shaking hand, he reached for the doorknob and twisted. The door swung open into darkness. Jason took a hesitant step inside. His breath hitched as his foot met solid ground, but not carpet. Wood. Old wood. The scent of mildew and dust filled his lungs. As his eyes adjusted, he realized he was no longer in the motel. He stood inside what looked like an ancient cabin, its walls lined with rotting shelves, empty picture frames hanging crookedly. A mirror sat in the center of the room. Jason's stomach clenched. Not again. The mirror was old, its glass clouded with age. But when he stepped closer, the surface rippled, like disturbed water. Then, something moved behind him. Jason spun around. Nothing. But when he turned back to the mirror, his reflection was gone. Instead, the glass showed something else, someone else. A man. No, not a man. A hollowed-out version of himself, gaunt, skin stretched tight over sharp bones, blackened eyes sunken deep. It grinned at him, jagged teeth glinting in the dim light. "You let me in," it whispered. Jason stumbled back, but the mirror's surface bulged outward, like something was trying to push through. No. No, no, no. He turned to run, but the door was gone. The mirror cracked. A sharp, splintering noise filled the air as fractures spread across the glass. From those cracks, black liquid oozed out, spilling onto the wooden floor like ink. The room trembled. Jason pressed himself against the wall, eyes darting around for an escape. There was none. The mirror shattered. A wave of darkness surged forward, consuming everything. Jason barely had time to scream before it swallowed him whole. Jason gasped for air, but his lungs felt thick, filled with something heavy and suffocating. Darkness surrounded him, swallowing him whole. For a moment, he thought he was dead. Then, he fell. The drop was sudden, like being yanked from reality. His body twisted through an endless void before he hit the ground with a bone-rattling thud. Pain exploded through his ribs. He groaned, rolling onto his back, struggling to breathe. The floor beneath him was solid again, carpet. Jason's eyes snapped open. He was back. Room 7. The motel. The closet door stood ajar, the message scratched into the wood still there. "You're already here." His pulse thundered in his ears. He scrambled to his feet, reaching for the door handle, determined to leave this place once and for all. Locked. Jason yanked harder. The knob refused to budge. Panic set in. Something was wrong. Different, the air felt thicker, heavier. The walls seemed darker, the ceiling lower. Then, the knock. Slow. Deliberate. But this time, it didn't come from the door. It came from inside the room. Jason turned slowly, dread pooling in his stomach. The closet door creaked open wider, revealing only shadow beyond. A whisper. His own voice. "Jason, help me." His knees went weak. He had heard those words before. In the bathroom. Before he saw his doppelgänger. This wasn't over. Jason backed away, chest heaving. His mind screamed at him to do something, anything. But before he could react, the lights flickered violently. The air crackled with static. Then, the closet door slammed shut. A deafening silence followed. Jason barely had time to catch his breath before something changed. The TV clicked on. Static. Then, images. Blurry. Distorted. Jason stepped closer, pulse pounding. The screen showed him. Standing in the motel parking lot. Looking at the flickering neon sign. Jason's breath caught in his throat. The footage rewound, playing in reverse. Back through the night. Back to when he first entered room 7. Then it went further. It showed before he arrived. Jason frowned. That wasn't possible. Then he saw it. The room. Occupied. By him. Jason's mind reeled. He watched in horror as his other self sat on the bed, staring at the TV, looking just as confused, just as terrified. The timestamp on the screen flickered. 1 week ago. Jason stumbled back, his head spinning. He had just checked in tonight. Hadn't he? Hadn't he? Then, on the screen, the version of him in the past turned to the camera, and smiled. The TV cut to black. The knocking started again. But this time, it was coming from the mirror. Jason's heart pounded as the knocking from the mirror grew louder, more insistent. Knock. 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 It wasn't random. There was a rhythm to it. Deliberate. Expectant. His breath hitched as he took a step back. Then, the mirror rippled, Like a drop of water disturbing a still pond, the reflection wavered, distorting the image of the room behind him. Jason's own reflection blurred, shifting into something else. Someone else. A figure emerged in the glass. Jason's stomach twisted. It was him. Not just his reflection, another version of him, But this one looked different. Gaunt. Hollow-eyed. His skin was pale, almost translucent. He stared at Jason with an unsettling grin, lips curling in unnatural amusement. Then, the other Jason raised a trembling hand and pressed it against the glass. Jason could barely breathe. What are you? He whispered. The figure's lips parted, but the voice that came out wasn't his own. It was all of them. A chorus of whispers. Layers of voices. Some familiar, some unrecognizable. Some pleading. Some laughing. Some screaming. You were never supposed to leave. Jason stumbled back, his mind reeling. The lights flickered wildly. The air turned suffocating. Then, the mirror shattered. A gust of freezing air burst from the broken glass, and Jason shielded his face as shards flew everywhere. When he opened his eyes, the room was different. The walls, rotting. The ceiling, caving in. The carpet, soaked in something dark. He was no longer in the same motel room. Or maybe, he was, and it had always been like this. A deep, guttural voice rumbled from the shadows. Welcome back, Jason. Something moved in the darkness. Jason's entire body screamed for him to run. But the door was still locked. And the thing in the shadows was getting closer. Jason's body refused to move. His pulse thundered in his ears as the thing in the shadows shifted closer. The air grew heavier, thick with the scent of damp rot and something metallic. Then, a whisper, You never left, Jason. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. It slithered through the decayed walls, curled around his ears, sank into his skin. His breath came in short gasps. The mirror was gone, shattered into countless shards that littered the floor like broken stars. The reflection of his other self was nowhere to be seen. But something else was watching. From the darkness, a figure emerged. Jason's breath hitched. It was him. Again. But this version was wrong. His skin was stretched too tight over his face. His eyes were black voids, swallowing the dim light of the ruined room. His smile was impossibly wide, teeth jagged like broken glass. Jason stumbled backward, heart hammering. The other Jason took a step forward. Then another. Where do you think you're going? It whispered. Jason's back hit the rotting wall. The door was still locked. No way out. He had to think. Fast. His eyes darted around the room. The broken glass. The flickering lamp. The peeling wallpaper. And then, the closet, The closet where it all began. A memory crashed into him, the message scratched into the wood. You're already here. Underscore. Jason's stomach twisted. Was there a way out? Or was he just running in circles? The asterisk other Jason tilted its head. Its smile widened. You remember now, don't you? Jason clenched his fists. He wasn't going to let this thing win. Summoning every ounce of courage, he lunged toward the closet. The thing shrieked, its voice a twisted, distorted version of his own. Jason yanked the closet door open, and stepped inside. Darkness swallowed him whole. Then, the world shifted. A pull, like gravity reversing. A sensation of falling, weightless and infinite. Jason clenched his eyes shut. His head spun. The air grew thick and suffocating. Then, silence. He opened his eyes. And found himself back in the motel room. But it was different. The walls were intact. The mirror unbroken. The air, still and quiet. Had he escaped? His breath came in shaky bursts as he turned toward the door. He reached for the handle. And then. A whisper. Welcome back, Jason. The door unlocked. And slowly, ever so slowly, it opened. Jason's breath hitched as the door creaked open. The hallway beyond was dimly lit, stretching into a deep, unnatural darkness. Something was different. The air felt heavier, pressing against his skin like a lead blanket. The motel was silent, too silent. No distant hum of vending machines, no flickering neon sign buzzing outside. Not even the sound of his own breathing. Jason stepped out cautiously. His footsteps made no sound. No sound at all. Panic clawed at his chest. He turned back to his room, but the door had vanished, a blank wall in its place, Underscore, no, no, no. Underscore. The hallway stretched longer, the flickering light at the far end grew dimmer. Shadows curled at the edges of his vision. And then, he saw them, Figures. Standing in the dark. Watching, At first, they were featureless. Just silhouettes, unmoving. Then, one took a step forward. Jason's stomach dropped. The figure was him. Dozens of them, all identical. All staring. He stumbled back, his mind reeling. One of the figures opened its mouth. No sound came out. Then another did the same. And another. Until all of them were screaming in silence. Jason clutched his head, his heartbeat a frantic drum. He had to move. Had to get out. He turned and ran, sprinting toward the end of the hallway, The walls trembled. The ground beneath him shifted, twisted, bent, the hallway warped like a living thing, stretching and contracting, leading him deeper. He ran until his lungs burned, until his legs threatened to give out. Then, a door, A single wooden door at the very end of the endless corridor. Jason didn't hesitate. He grabbed the handle and threw it open. Blinding light. He shielded his eyes, stumbling forward. And then. He was outside. The motel parking lot stretched before him. His car sat exactly where he left it. The neon sign still flickered, last vacancy. The air was still. The night quiet. Jason turned, his breath shaky. The motel stood behind him, looking normal. Had it all been a hallucination? A nightmare? His fingers trembled as he reached for his car keys. Then. A whisper. See you soon, Jason. His reflection in the car window. Smiled. Jason's heart stopped. His reflection in the car window was smiling but he wasn't. His face was frozen in fear, yet the reflection smirked back at him, mocking, He stumbled backward, nearly falling onto the pavement. No, he whispered. This isn't real. The air around him shifted, the parking lot flickered, like a dying television signal. The neon motel sign buzzed erratically, its letters distorting. Jason blinked, and suddenly, the motel looked decayed, the paint peeled, the windows were shattered, and the doors hung open like gaping mouths. He turned back to his car, fumbling for the handle. But the reflection was still smiling. Then, it moved, Before he did, Jason froze. His reflection tilted its head, examining him, slowly, deliberately. Then, it reached into the glass. Jason barely had time to react before a cold, skeletal hand grabbed his wrist and pulled. He screamed, yanking away, but the grip was iron. His arms sank into the window, into the glass as if it were liquid. He was being dragged inside. Jason thrashed, his free hand clawing at the car door. The reflection, his reflection, was pulling him in. Stop, he screamed. Let go. Then, a voice, whispering in his ear. You don't belong out there. The glass shattered. Jason fell backward onto the pavement, gasping for air. His wrist throbbed, ice cold, as if something had almost succeeded in dragging him into the void beyond the reflection. He scrambled to his feet. The car was gone. The parking lot was gone. He was standing in front of the motel again. But now, the sign was off. The doors were open. And inside, something was waiting. Jason turned to run, but the road was gone, There was nothing but an endless black void. And from that darkness, footsteps. Getting closer. Jason swallowed hard. He had one choice left. Go inside. As he stepped toward the doorway, the motel seemed to breathe, the walls pulsed, the floorboards groaned. Jason exhaled, stepping into the darkness. The door slammed shut behind him. Welcome back. Jason stood in the motel's lobby, his breath shallow, his body trembling. The air was thick, suffocating, as if the very walls were watching. The reception desk was empty, the bell sat there, tarnished and covered in dust. The once dim lights now flickered with a sickly glow, casting long, unnatural shadows. Then, a voice. Jason, you finally came back. His stomach twisted. The voice wasn't coming from behind the desk. It was coming from inside the walls. Jason turned, too late. The walls split open like a mouth. Hands, dozens of them, burst out, clawing at him, dragging him backward. He struggled, kicked, screamed, but they were too strong. They yanked him into the darkness. Jason landed hard on cold tile. A bathroom. But not just any bathroom. His motel bathroom. He was back in room 7. The mirror across from him was cracked, and the other Jason stood there, his reflection, but not quite. Its grin was too wide, its eyes too dark. You took my place, it whispered, stepping through the glass. Jason scrambled back, but there was nowhere to go. The reflection loomed over him, its face inches from his own. You should have left. Jason's mouth opened to scream. But the reflection shoved him into the mirror. The motel door creaked open. A man stepped inside, yawning. Another weary traveler, another unlucky soul. The receptionist, the elderly woman with clouded eyes, slid a key across the counter. Room 7. Last one left, she murmured. The traveler nodded, taking the key. He didn't notice the faint whisper behind him. Didn't notice the reflection in the window. Didn't notice Jason. Pounding. Screaming. Trapped inside the glass. Waiting for the next vacancy. If you want this story's second part, comment on this video for part 2. Thank you for watching my YouTube channel Story Time. Please don't forget like, subscribe and share.